everybody, what's up and welcome back. You guys asked and I'm answering. Today I am diving into all of your cruise related questions. It is something that we absolutely love doing, and we go on at least one cruise a year, sometimes 2 or 3 depending on the year. And so I'm here to answer all your burning questions. So without further ado, let's dive in. For anybody who is a little bit newer here, I am Jelaine. I am a licensed mental health therapist and cruise aficionado. I don't even know if that's the right word, cruise fanatic. I love cruising. Love cruising so much that I actually, in addition to being a full-time therapist, I'm also a travel agent that specializes in cruises. And I love all things cruises. We live in Houston, Texas, so we live about an hour and a half depending on traffic from Galveston, which is has a cruise port. Our favorite line is Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean? Wearing my Royal Caribbean tank top today for this video. We have been on, oh gosh, more than 10 cruises at this point. I don't even know, I lost count, but we have been on Caribbean cruises. We've gone to the Mediterranean. We were on the maiden voyage of Icon of the Seas in 2024. And so we've been multiple different destinations, multiple different cruise ships. We've only been on Royal because we absolutely love it, but I have done all of the trainings and everything for all the other lines with being a travel agent. So I want to dive into all your burning questions. I have them on my phone here from when I posted about it. So let's go. All right, so question number 1 is, how do I choose the right cruise line or destination? This one's actually super easy to answer. Number 1, I always suggest start with your destination, because not every line goes to the destination. If you're wanting to go to the Caribbean, if you're wanting to go to like the Pacific coast, if you want to go to Alaska, Mediterranean, oh my gosh, there's Hawaii, there's Asia, there is Australia. There are so many different, so pick your destination first. The Caribbean is the most popular just because you can go island hopping, you can go to a lot of different locations, things like that, out of multiple different ports. And so then it makes it easier because most lines do sail to the Caribbean. The next thing you want to look at is which line is the best for you. Now, if you absolutely love all things Disney, a Disney cruise is the way to go. If you have kids, looking at lines like Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Norwegian can all be options. If you're wanting more adult only, Virgin and Celebrity are gonna be it. And sometimes Princess. Princess is fantastic for like Hawaii and Alaska cruises. Their Caribbean cruises do tend to be, depending on the ship to be honest, sometimes it gears more towards adults, sometimes it's families. Royal Caribbean, truthfully, is really designing their new ships for families in mind. Like the Icon class actually have family neighborhoods that they have splash pads. They call them the family suites, where essentially you've got a balcony that comes straight into the kids' play area. Next one is, what is included in the price? So whenever you pay for your cruise price, what you get is you get your cruise, your port taxes and fees, all of those things, all of your basic dining and basic activities. Now, complete transparency, this does vary by ship. Like I know some lines don't include the shows and you pay extra if you want to do the shows. Other lines will just include everything. For example, Royal Caribbean will include all of your main dining room, buffet, and like kind of pool deck quick service dining included in, but if you want to go to any of the specialty restaurants, you pay extra. Whereas like Virgin cruises, they don't have a main dining room. Their whole idea is specialty dining, and that's all included. So there's going to be a little bit of variance between lines, but for the most part, it is the same across the board. Your main dining is all included. Your shows, your entertainment, things like that. There are sometimes activities on board that will cost extra, like if there is a skydiving simulator, an ice rink, things like that will sometimes cost extra. But your basic, it's basically an all-inclusive. Now, your basic drinks are included, things like alcohol, specialty coffees, sodas on some lines are not included, but you can always buy a package to make it all-inclusive. Next one is, when is the best time of year to cruise? All year round, plain and simple. You know, the Caribbean is always a great time to cruise outside of hurricane season. Caveat being, in the summertime it is hot, but in the wintertime it's really, really comfortable. Places like Alaska, you can only really sail in the summertime because in the wintertime, obviously, it's Alaska, it's too cold and stuff. There are different seasons within each region, so there's really not a best time to go unless you're looking at specific regions. Again, Caribbean, I avoid during hurricane season. The Mediterranean is great between April to October. Hawaii, pretty much any time of the year. Those kinds of things. So it really is going to depend on the region, but if you want to go on a cruise, you can go on a cruise any time of the year. The next one is, what are the differences between the ships? So this is kind of a loaded question, to be perfectly honest. Each ship is a class, and this is across all cruise lines. Each of their ships have classes. So for example, with Royal Caribbean, Icon and Star of the Seas are the Icon class. Utopia of the Seas, Symphony of the Seas, Wonder of the Seas, Harmony, I think I said Symphony, Allure, and Oasis are all Oasis class ships. Carnival has their sets of classes. Norwegian does, Celebrity does, Princess does, Disney does. They all have classes. So essentially, the classes vary by features and by amenities on board. For example, all of the Oasis class ships have the Ultimate Abyss slide, they have the Central Park, they have the boardwalk on board, and they all are basically set up the same layout. Icon class is its own layout. It doesn't have the Ultimate Abyss slide, but it does have an ice rink. Doesn't have the boardwalk or it does have the Central Park though. So each class is going to have different amenities. Maybe it's different stages, it's going to be different types of shows, it's going to be different sizes, things like that. So the next question, what are the different room types? So interior room is exactly that. It's inside, it has no windows. You're in the middle of the ship. That's about it. Some ships and some cruise lines will actually have, they call it a virtual window, where it'll basically be a screen that will look outside. Not every ship or every line will have that though. Next you have the ocean view room. So an ocean view room is, you have a window of some sort. I've seen them where they're like porthole size, all the way up to floor to ceiling, panoramic walls of windows. But there's no balcony, you can't, you know, go outside of those windows, you can just look outside. Those do tend to be on lower decks, and they also tend to be forward and in the back of the ship. The next one are the balcony rooms. Those are exactly what they sound like. Those are the staterooms that you have the balcony and you can go and sit on your balcony. Then you have your suites. Now, I'm not going to go super in depth into suites because they vary so much across every single line, but essentially you get better amenities such as like maybe a bigger bed, more comfortable bedding and pillows, bigger rooms, butler services. Some lines will have like specific dining that only suite guests can utilize. Sometimes there's a lounge. You get different perks and stuff like that. The next one is it worth upgrading to a suite? In all honesty, it depends on what you want. If you're celebrating something special and you feel like the price is worth it, definitely. If you're traveling with a larger family, sometimes some of the suites can fit 8, 9, 10 people, might be worth it. We have found that the cost of a suite tends to be twice the price of a balcony room. For us, not really worth it. But if you're wanting to, most lines, if you get a suite, will give you like double loyalty points, or they'll give you like extra points towards your loyalty membership. Every cruise line has a loyalty membership program. Sometimes people I've seen will go on and do the suite just to get the extra points to bump them up a level. Sometimes it's really important to have certain amenities, certain extras, things like that. And then you'd have to gauge whether it's worth it for you or not. For us, we've never found it to be worth it. The next question is, what dining options are available? So on every cruise line except for Virgin, you have a main dining room. Disney, they do what's called rotational dining, but it's still basically a dining room that you go to. Every cruise line will have a buffet. Every cruise line will have like a quick service, like it can be things like burgers, hot dogs, tacos, quesadillas, things like that. Usually those are up on the pool deck. And then every cruise line will have specialty dining that does cost extra. It can be a steakhouse, seafood house, pasta, things like that. Virgin does do it a little bit differently in that there's no main dining room. They have like 20 restaurants on board that you pick from, and you go to a restaurant for dinner every night. That is included in their cost. Next one is, how do cruise lines handle dietary issues? Fantastically. In every cruise that I have ever personally gone on, or I have sent clients of mine on, cruise lines handle dietary restrictions fantastically. When we book, there's usually an area on the booking that you can put that, and then I always encourage people to go to the maitre d' in the main dining area and just confirm that that is on file. There was one cruise a few years ago that I was doing an elimination diet to check and see for some allergies. And every single night, the head waiter and the chef came out to my table with tomorrow night's menu, what looked good, what was I feeling, what was I craving, things like that. And then they would make something. Now, sometimes they couldn't make the exact thing, but they would make something like, let's say I wanted shrimp pasta. For example, they have gluten-free pasta on board on cruise ships. They were able to make me like a gluten-free, dairy-free version of what I wanted. Every single cruise line, so I've toured the Disney Wish. I got to see the behind the scenes of the Disney Wish. I've done behind the scenes tours on Harmony of the Seas and Icon of the Seas. And I've also done some virtual tours of Princess and Celebrity. And every one that I have personally seen has a separate allergy kitchen. They have a gluten-free kitchen that is where they cook the allergy-based dishes. Now, like I said, that's only on the ones I've seen. I could be wrong. There could be other ships that don't have that. But in my experience, they will accommodate practically any allergy. Next one is what is the drink package and is it worth it? Now, this one I'm only going to speak for Royal Caribbean just because that is my knowledge. But every cruise line that I've done training with, it's fairly similar. So with Royal Caribbean, you get your basic coffee, tea, water, lemonade, iced tea included. If you want things like soda, they have a soda package that you can buy. So Royal Caribbean has 3 levels of drink package. They have the soda, they have the refreshment, and then they have the deluxe. So from what I've seen from other cruise lines, most of them will only have 2. They'll have like the refreshment and then the deluxe. So the soda packages, you get the reusable cup. You can go to the freestyle machines. You can get soda at any of the bars. You can do those things. The refreshment package is basically anything non-alcoholic. Mocktails, smoothies, sodas, specialty coffees, juices, whole 9 yards. Deluxe package is everything is included. It is the drink package. Like I said, most lines I have seen only have the 2 that will be like the non-alcohol and the alcohol package. We did get the alcohol package on our honeymoon. Was not worth it. Plain and simple. I did the math and we would have had to have like 14 cocktails to make it worth it. I don't know about you guys, I can't drink 14 cocktails. Now, what I do is we get the refreshment package. And I love me a good mocktail. I love a Red Bull. I love my morning lattes, things like that. I have saved money using the refreshment package. So that tends to be about $30 per person per day. But when you're drinking 2 lattes a day, if you pay out of pocket, a latte on board is like $5 or $6. There's $10 to $12 right there. And then if you get a Red Bull, it's another $5. I usually have about 2 Red Bulls a day. I drink a lot of caffeine, okay? I know, I need to cut back my caffeine, but it's a lot. So I've actually found that I will save money using the refreshment package. Okay, we are about halfway done. I have a ton of questions. Next one is, what activities are available for kids and teens? So every cruise line that I have toured, I've trained with, I have been on, has a kids club and a teens club. And so the kids and teens can check in, they can go hang out there, they can do things like that. Most lines do have activities for families. Royal Caribbean, for example, will have a comedian on board every single week, and they'll have a show earlier in the evening that they'll say family friendly, and then they'll have one later in the evening that is adults only. So cruise lines do a really great job of defining what is family friendly and what is kids only. 90%, I would say, is catered towards kids and families. So lots of activities to do, lots of things to do on board, lots of entertainment, kids clubs, teen hangouts, whatever you want to call it. Next one is, are there adult only areas? Yes. Yes, there are. Disney ships all have adult only areas. Royal Caribbean ships it's called the Solarium, and it's like 16 and older, but they'll also have activities later in the evenings for adults only. Virgin Voyages, for example, is adults only no matter what. They do not allow kids on board their cruise ships. So again, like I said, with the comedy club or comedians on board, earlier in the evening will be family friendly, later in the evening will be adults only. Very great at distinguishing the two. Next thing is, what are entertainment options? What aren't entertainment options? Let me just start with that. So every cruise I've ever been on has a stage, and they will have a signature show. Royal Caribbean does Broadway shows. They will have aqua theaters with like Cirque du Soleil style shows, ice rinks with ice shows. They have parades. They call them street parties. But in the Royal Promenade, they'll have like basically a dance party that's themed. There are dance clubs, there's karaoke bars, there is dueling pianos and live music that you can dance to. And so there's just so much entertainment every single day. Next question is, how do shore excursions work? This is going to be a complicated question. I'm going to actually skip over this, and I'm going to make a whole video about how excursions work, because there's a lot that goes into it, and this, like, I'm trying to keep this video at like 15-20 minutes max, and this could easily make it 30. Next one is, how do I find my way around the ship? There's a couple different ways. So every area near an elevator is going to have a map, but also every cruise line has an app that you can download on your phone, and then it'll actually give you a deck plan and deck layout. It helps you find your way around. Next question is, what are tips for first-time cruisers? This is also one I'm going to skip over. I'm going to have a whole video because I had a bunch of questions about first-time cruising, things I wish I knew on my first cruise, whole 9 yards. I'll make a separate video. Okay, next one. How does transportation work to and from the port? This is going to vary by port. If you sail out of Port Canaveral, which is Orlando, every single cruise line will have transportation. Quite frankly, if you sail out of a main port, Miami, Orlando, Texas, Rome, I've sailed out of those 4 ports. Every single one will have a desk at your baggage check where you check in with your cruise line, and they'll get you there if you book it ahead of time. Anytime we've sailed in or out of Galveston, we drive because we're so close. But whenever we've been landing, like from our own travels, we've seen those desks in and around like Houston Airport. We have taken the transportation from Orlando. We've seen it at Miami Airport. We were there the day before, so we really didn't do that. However, when we were coming back from our Mediterranean cruise, we arranged for transportation on the bus and literally got out of the cruise terminal, got on basically a giant coach bus, and it took us back to Rome Fiumicino Airport. Not a problem. So it does vary slightly by airport. Check with your travel agent, check with the cruise line, whole 9 yards, but in general, cruise lines will help you arrange transportation. Next one is, how do I know what's going on while on board? Every single cruise line, like I said, has an app. Those apps will list like your cruise calendar and events calendar, things like that. Every line calls it something different, but you can do that, or you can sometimes request a paper copy from your attendant. Also, if you turn on your TV, usually it's channels 2 or 3, like it's in the first couple channels on your TV, it'll actually be listing everything that goes on board. So super easy to figure everything out. Use the app. It's the easiest, to be honest. And every cruise I've ever been on, you do not have to have the Wi-Fi to use the app. They make it so that everybody can use the app while they're on board. Process for getting on and off the ship. Oh, that's loaded. I'm going to make a separate video over on that one as well. Next one is, are there any restrictions for anything? So yes, there are age and weight restrictions for certain activities. Obviously, if it's an adults only thing, there's an age restriction, things like that. All of their activities, things like the slides, the water slides, if you're going to do like zip lining, some ships have zip lining, I know it's awesome, rock climbing, things like that, they will have weight restrictions for safety. And the next thing is, how can I celebrate special days on board? Oh my gosh, that's the last question. Celebrating special things. So we have celebrated birthdays, honeymoon, anniversaries, all of that on board. We celebrate holidays on board. So you can do a couple different things. You can book something ahead of time. So like Royal Caribbean, for example, you can actually book, they call it the birthday celebration. You'll get a small cake, you'll get like some streamers and stuff that you can decorate the door and the room with to say like happy birthday or happy anniversary. You can pre-order that before you get on board, and then that will be delivered to your room. The other thing you can do is you can stop at guest services and you can order like a bottle of cider or champagne or something like that to be delivered to the room. You also can let your travel agent know, and they can put it on your documentation. We did that with our anniversary. I am my own travel agent, so I put it on my own documentation and basically said we were celebrating our anniversary. And the dining crew asked us when our anniversary was and brought us out a special dessert that then one of the chefs had written happy anniversary in chocolate on. But those are all of the questions. I don't have any other questions for general cruising. I had a lot come up with Icon stuff just because Icon is new. Star of the Seas is coming out next year. I had some of those questions. I will make the separate videos on things like the excursions and first time cruising and all of that, just because again, there are so many tips and tricks for that I want to make sure I cover everything. But yeah, what other cruise questions do you have? Do you guys have a favorite cruise line? Do you guys have a favorite cruise destination location? Let me know down below. You guys know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget all the socials up here. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everybody.